Okay, I hope I'm audible to all my students who are attending this particular lecture for the Intermediate Macroeconomics Part 1 course. In this particular lecture, I'm going to start with the discussion of the 2023 question paper, which has come up at Delhi University for all those students who are pursuing economics honors. And the name of the course is Intermediate Macroeconomics Part 1 course. Okay, so let's start with the 2023 question paper discussion. In this lecture, I'm going to start the discussion with section A. Okay, and in section A, students can see that question 1 is a compulsory question, where question 1 is all the MCQs. If I scroll down, students can see that these are all the MCQs which have come up from the topics in the Intermediate Macroeconomics Part 1. So if I scroll up, let's start with the discussion of these MCQs one by one. So let's start with the discussion of this particular lecture. So within question 1, let's look at part 1. Assume that the economy is a closed economy, which means that there are neither imports nor exports in this economy, and there has been a decrease in taxes. Now, what is going to happen to the interest rates in the medium run due to the labor market? So from the labor market side, what is going to be the impact on the interest rates? Okay, so let's come to the whiteboard to solve this particular MCQ. So I'm just writing the main heading for completeness. We are looking at Delhi University Exam 2023 for the Intermediate Macroeconomics Part 1 course. Intermediate Macroeconomics Part 1. This is for all those students pursuing economics honors. Let me write this clearly. All those students pursuing economics honors from University of Delhi. Okay, so let's look at section A of this particular question paper, within which I am solving problem 1, part 1 of this problem. Okay, so we are given that the economy is closed. We are given that the economy is closed and there has been a decrease in taxes. Now, students, when taxes fall, what will happen? If you look at the consumers or if you look at the laborers, they are going to work more. A fall in taxes would encourage them to work more. Okay, and as a result, when they work more, they demand more goods and services. So I can write that a fall in taxes encourages labor to work more and thus earn higher income, which implies an increase in aggregate demand. When they earn higher income, they are going to demand more goods and services. So what will happen? If I draw the aggregate demand, aggregate supply space, this is Y, this is price, P, this is my aggregate demand, this is my aggregate supply in the medium run. Remember, the aggregate demand is drawn for a given level of autonomous expenditure. Aggregate supply is drawn for a given level of expected price. This is my initial equilibrium E naught. This is P naught. This is Y naught. A decrease in taxes would ultimately lead to an increase in aggregate demand from the labor market. The aggregate demand curve is going to shift to the right. Okay. When aggregate demand shifts to the right, you can see there is excess aggregate demand. Excess aggregate demand would drive up the prices. And we know that from the bond market, price and interest rates are inversely related. So I can say an increase in aggregate demand would imply increase in prices from P0 to P1, which implies that interest rates fall due to the inverse relationship between price and interest rates, due to the inverse relationship between the price and the interest rates from the bond market. We have covered all this in our intermediate macroeconomics part 1 theoretical lectures. If you look at the lectures on Keynesian economy, you will see that price and interest rates in the bond market are inversely related. So when price is going up, my answer is that interest rates will decrease. This is what the question was asking us. What will happen to interest rates? Interest rates will decrease. So I can come back to the question paper and I can mark the correct answer. What will happen to the interest rates? Interest rates will decrease. This is my answer. Okay. So remember, in the MCQs, students are not required to give any explanations. As long as you have marked the correct answer, you will be awarded full marks. However, my job in the lecture is to give you proper explanation as to how you reach the answer. So I'm not just marking the correct answer, I'm also telling students what is the correct reason for marking this as your answer. But in the exam, you don't need to give the explanation. You only need to tick the correct MCQ or write the correct answer. That's it. Okay. Let's look at the second MCQ. It's a bit blurry because of the original paper I got being a bit blurry, but I'm going to read it for all students. The permanent income of a consumer in Friedman's model of consumption is the present value of our income divided by interest rates, present value of our income multiplied by interest rates divided by present value of our income, none of the above. Now, students can recall this from my lectures on consumption theory. So I can come to the whiteboard and I can erase this particular part off and I can look at question 1, part 2. Recall from my lectures on consumption theory. Recall from my lectures on consumption theory. And within consumption theory, students can refer to Friedman's permanent income hypothesis from the Branson book, which I have covered in detail in my lectures. Friedman's permanent income hypothesis. You will see that in those lectures, the permanent income for individual I is the present value of income multiplied by the interest rates. This is permanent income of individual I. Permanent income of individual I. This is present value of income. Present value of her income. And this is the interest rates. So this is the equation, okay, which shows the relationship between permanent income, present value of income, and interest rates. You can clearly find this in my lectures on Friedman's permanent income hypothesis. So before watching this lecture, you can enroll for the course and you can look at permanent income hypothesis as explained by me in depth in the lectures. So if I come to the whiteboard, I can write the final answer is present value of our income times interest rates. This is my answer. The Friedman's, according to Friedman's model of consumption, the permanent income of the consumer, which is YPI, is equal to the present value of our income, which is PVI, multiplied by the interest rate R. Okay, let's look at the third question. Which of the following events will increase the natural rate of unemployment? Now, students can look at my lectures on labor market and the long run aggregate supply curve, where I've done the wage setting, price setting equations, and how there is an increase in natural rate of unemployment. So if you look at the options given to you, decrease in government spending, increase in real money supply, decrease in competition among the firms, and weakening of labor union. Weakening of labor union is Z, from my lectures. Competition among the firms is captured by mu, which is degree of monopoly power. So this is a component of the weight setting equation, and mu is a component of the price setting equation. And remember from my lectures on weight setting, price setting, that when mu goes up, it means competition is falling. When I say that mu goes up, it means degree of monopoly power is going up. When degree of monopoly power is going up, it means competition is decreasing. Okay, decrease in government spending and real money supply are not the options. Why? Because they are all to do with the IS and the LM. Okay, this is to do with the IS and the LM curve, so they are not going to have any impact on the natural rate of unemployment. Any factor which affects the weight setting and the price setting equation will have an impact on the natural rate of unemployment. That means my answer is either of these two. Okay, if I come to the whiteboard to solve this completely, okay, recall from my lectures on labor market and the long run aggregate supply, the weight setting and the price setting equation. The weight setting and the price setting equation. They are as follows. The weight setting equation is W by P is a function of unemployment and Z, which is the catch-all variable. This is my real wage. U denotes unemployment. I can write clearly. U denotes the unemployment rate. Z is a catch-all variable, which denotes all other factors other than the unemployment. Okay, and my price setting equation was W by P is equal to 1 over 1 plus mu, where mu denotes the degree of monopoly power. Mu denotes the degree of monopoly power. So students, if you look at the third option, which is this option, let's look at this option. Decrease in competition among the firms. So if I first of all also plot the diagram for weight setting and price setting, this is my unemployment rate U. This is my unemployment rate, and this is my real wage W by P. This is my wage setting equation, which shows inverse relationship between real wage and unemployment. And I have something called the price setting equation, which is a horizontal line, where W by P is equal to a constant 1 over 1 plus mu. So the black one is my wage setting, the red one is my price setting. Their intersection gives me the natural rate of unemployment UN. Now, when there's a decrease in competition among the firms, what is going to happen? If I raise the initial portion of when there is a decrease in competition, when there is a decrease in competition among the firms, what will happen to mu? Mu will fall, which implies 1 over mu will rise. Let me correct myself. When there's a decrease in competition among the firms, it means you're moving more towards monopoly. Remember, when competition is falling, you are becoming more of a monopolist. Mu will rise. When there's a decrease in competition among the firms, mu will rise. Decrease in competition means increase in monopoly power. Remember. So mu will rise. When mu will rise, I can write 1 over 1 plus mu as a whole is going to fall. Because remember, mu comes in the denominator. When mu rises, this whole term will fall, which implies the price setting curve shifts downward. And when price setting curve shifts downwards, what will happen to the natural rate of unemployment? So this was PS0. The green one is PS1. The natural rate of unemployment goes up from UN to UN. So I can write this implies that the natural rate of unemployment increases from UN to UN dash. The natural rate of unemployment. So my answer is there is going to be an increase in the natural rate of unemployment. So which of the following events increases the natural rate of unemployment? My answer is option C. So it is going to be a decrease in competition among the firms, which is going to increase the natural rate of unemployment. Since I've got the answer, I don't need to observe option D. So my answer is option C. Okay, so hoping all students have understood this. Question 4 was a wrong question. Originally, if you check out the question paper, it was a wrong question, so please avoid it. So full marks are awarded for attempting this question. I can write. Full marks are awarded for attempting the question. Attempting the question means if you mark any of these as your answer, you will be awarded full marks. So irrespective of what you mark, but if you mark one of your MCQs as your answer, possible answer, then you will be given full marks. The question itself was a wrong question. Okay, so because of some misprint, so we are leaving question number 4. Okay, let's look at question number 5. Which of the following variables will change in long run in response to a demand shock if prices are able to adjust fully? When prices are able to adjust fully, it means it's classical economics. Because remember, in Keynesian economics, prices can't adjust fully. Prices are rigid. If prices are able to adjust fully, it means it's classical economics. And in classical economics, in the long run, there is no impact on the real variables. Unemployment is a real variable, so it will not change. Output and unemployment again are real variables, they will not change. In classical economics, the only thing which changes in the long run are nominal variables. Price, you can see, is a nominal variable. Price is a nominal variable. That means only price will change in response to a demand shock. So this is something which we have learned in our introductory macroeconomics course as well. Students who have taken up introductory macroeconomics course with me, okay, in classical economics, only the nominal variables change in the long run. So I can write, there is no need to use the whiteboard for this. I can just write in classical economics, only the nominal variables change. Only the nominal variables change in response to demand shock. Only the nominal variables change in response to demand shock. There is no change in real variables. There is no change in the real variables in the long run. That means my answer is only the price level being the nominal variable will change. All other variables are not going to. Okay. And now let's look at the last part I plan to do for today. Part 6. The life cycle hypothesis implies that in a growing economy with increasing social security benefits for old age people may have what impact on savings? So obviously when social security benefits are going to increase. Now there are two things, students. First of all, growing economy. When we talk about a growing economy means it might contain more people in their young age. Young age would mean that they would increase savings. So savings might increase. Okay, savings might increase. So my aggregate savings might increase, I can say. Why can I say that the aggregate savings will increase? Because a growing economy contains more of younger age people which would like to save more. Because remember, from the life cycle hypothesis, savings occurs only in your young age. In your initial age and retirement age, your consumption exceeds your income. Your savings are actually negative. If you look at the Ando-Modigliani life cycle hypothesis that I've covered in my main lectures, you will see that it's only during the young phase that the savings increase. So aggregate savings increase. But when the government provides you with social security benefits at the same time, okay, that in turn would reduce the gross private savings. That in turn would reduce the gross private savings. Because when the government is providing you with social security, you would not want to save much. You're already getting that help from the government. Okay, so both the options are correct depending upon what student gives, what's the logic given by the student. Both are correct. Options B and D. So I can write both B and D are correct. I can come to the whiteboard and I can write a proper explanation for question 1, part 6, part 7. Okay, I can write that growing economy implies many people are in their young age. Many people are in their young age, which implies that the private savings and hence the aggregate savings increase. Private savings and hence the aggregate savings increase. Okay, and I can write when the government provides social security benefits, when the government provides social security benefits, it reduces the private savings. When you are getting help from the government in form of social security, it reduces your private savings and the government savings as well. Obviously, when the government is providing you with social security, the government is providing you with money only from its own piggy bank. So when the government provides social security benefits, the private savings fall because you are getting help from the government. It demotivates you to save on your own. And when the government is providing you with social security, it's providing it to you from its own savings. So government savings also fall. Thus, reducing the aggregate savings. Thus, reducing the aggregate savings. So I can write both the options B and D are correct. And the student must provide the correct logical explanation. The student must provide the correct logical explanation behind their answer. If you mark B as your answer, you should provide the correct reason for marking B, which is this reason. If you provide, so B was what? B was, if I come back to the question paper, B was reduce gross private savings. So I correct myself. If students provide B as your answer, then your reason should be this. And if you provide B as your answer, your reason should be this. Okay, so I stop now in this particular lecture. Okay, in the next lecture, I'm going to start with the discussion of MCQs starting from 8, MCQ 8. Starting from MCQ 8 is what I look at. Starting from MCQ 7, let me correct myself. Today, we have looked at MCQs till MCQ 6. In the next lecture, we are going to start with discussion from MCQ number 7. So I stop in this lecture. I hope students have enjoyed this lecture. Any doubts, you can unmute your mic and ask, or you can get in touch with me for doubts on call or WhatsApp, or you can mail me your doubts at divineschoolofeconomics@gmail.com. This is where I stop in this lecture.